Hello, welcome back to LIVENODING. In this episode, I'll be doing an improvisation using geometry nodes. We're gonna be dealing with something that's meta and invisible, and it's gonna be eating from the inside. So let's get started. So we have this default geometry, and we're gonna use this geometry. We're gonna do subdivisions. So subdivide. So it's adding details, but on top of that, I'll be using attribute proximity, and in order to have something that's invisible, that's meta, we're gonna be using another geometry. We need to point distribute. So original geometry goes in, and we have random points over here, right? This is the invisible thing that we cannot see until we kind of use this proximity. So now we still cannot see anything unless we use vertex group. So we're going to be doing some kind of grouping, and now if we check weight paint, so we're supposed to be seeing something now. And let's take a look at the spreadsheet. Okay, we have group nodes, weight paints, vertex paint. Oh, okay, maybe we need to set it to points. We have group XYZ, vertex group. Still cannot see anything, so that's why I thought it's something that's a little bit meta. I have an example here where it's the same thing and this is already working. Maybe this is because I'm using this attribute range as well. So this is slightly a little bit more elaborate, where I have another cube which I instance, but originally it's supposed to work like this before I even use the masking thing over here. I could already see something. This is the meta objects. So let's investigate. This is the original geometry. This is the geometry goes in. We can scale it, etc. We can add subdivisions. If you add more subdivisions, you can see more details. And then we use this attribute proximity, and we pass the distance into group. Okay, so that's making sense. And here I'm using attribute randomize. It doesn't work on point distribute. However, we can add another objects as instance, so it's gonna work. So you can use attribute proximity with points, edges, or faces. Each one of them will give a different result. For now, maybe just points. This is the instance cube, which is another object that we can use to instance on top of what we have. Maybe before I do that, let's investigate this guy. Okay, same deal. This has some meta thing happening inside it. On top of geometry nodes, we can use mask modifier, in which we are doing the masking. And this is where we started to see something interesting. So this is like a little bit like attribute color ramp. So we are seeing something, and we are generating this on the fly as well. So this is what I mean by using something meta, something hidden. Basically the attribute proximity And this is pretty cool because you can have multiple of these objects and each one of them is slightly different, and that way you can create some kind of pattern. Yeah, it's pretty weird, it's pretty meta. If you have another object like Suzanne, for example, same deal. Let's try reduce this geometry. Same deal with Suzanne. If we use geometry nodes, the same geometry nodes, we still see nothing because we need to introduce vertex group. Once you do that, you can look at weight paint. Now Suzanne is looking pretty sick. Now we can use masking and play around with the threshold. Now you can see Suzanne is changing. It's become meta. This is the meta blend that I was talking about earlier. I'm using the solidify. Maybe this should be complex. Simple or complex? Yeah, I think complex. It's looking pretty sick. You can adjust the subdivisions over here. Whenever you have, if you have something like this is like a lot of geometry, right? A lot of data. But Blender Sculpt mode is actually pretty powerful. So it's not slowing down. If currently it's pretty slow, I'm gonna apply all these calculations and go to Sculpt mode. We can use something like mesh filter. And there is something called sharpen, relax or sharpen. You can pick. You can kind of relax the surface. This is almost like a smooth modifier. So we have something that's a little bit more interesting in terms of geometry rather than having it like this, which is just a bunch of voxel. So there you go, that's the meta object that I was talking about. This is actually the simple versions. A more elaborate version, you can use instancing, and you use the instance geometry, like in this case instance cube, and you randomize the geometry. This will create a more interesting result. Let me reduce the resolution here just in case. Okay, instead of points, now you can use edges or faces. Yeah, you can see things disappearing, but you can adjust the instance. There you go. This is much more interesting. You have a lot of control actually with the seed and the instance object, etc. So there you go. It's pretty simple version of the meta thing, this attribute proximity that's generating the weight for the mask. However, maybe take a look at the Entagma video on Blender attribute proximity and see how you can turn this basic proximity into something that's with something with lines or flow across it. That will generate something that's more interesting masking actually. So yeah, so again, this is the basic version of the setup. Alright, so hopefully you'll find this interesting. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.